Is of what youth want in water. Actually, this was my lunch topic discussion, what youth want. So let's see what people are saying around. We want to properly understand these needs in the water sector. So we work two activities. First of them was a survey that was launched October last year and ran until March this year. And it was developed, translated to different languages. We disseminated all over the world. And we will show you the analysis of the results. And second, we also read some of the latest youth declarations in the water and environmental sector to understand. We collected these documents based on research, networks, and we evaluated the themes of the forum. How were they addressed in these previous declarations? Please come, sit. There are places here and there also. And we also did a synthesis of these youth declarations, and at the end we combined what we saw from the survey and what we saw from the declaration, if they are saying the same. So first, about an overview of the declarations. Based on the amount of the declarations, we saw an increase of these documents since 2020, and notably in 2023, last year, so we had more documents last year. Most of these documents, they had a global focus, and they were touched on each of the 6 sub-themes of the World Water Forum, which are those below. Let's see what they touched about each of the themes. So concerning governance, cooperation, and hydrodiplomacy, the declarations appointed the importance of cross-sectoral dialogue in cooperation in water management, advocacy for inclusive and transparent water governance frameworks. In knowledge and innovation, these documents show leveraging technology and innovation, enhancing education and training, and improving water information systems and data management. Under sustainable finance, these declarations pointed out mobilization of resources to vulnerable communities, especially local, and also advocacy for innovative funding mechanisms. Fourth, in disaster risk reduction and management, these declarations pointed out comprehensive strategies to mitigation and incorporating ecosystem-based approaches. For the water and for human and nature theme, we saw improving water quality and fresh water ecosystems, universal access to safe water and sanitation, and policies to prioritize protection and restoration. Last but not least, under water security and prosperity, these declarations pointed effective water management practices, addressing water challenges in key sectors, and also promoting risk resilience. So now when we look about how these declarations represent or talk about the different regions of the world, they were a total number of 18 declarations. And let's start with Americas. We saw varied levels of interest, diversity of priorities in water use practices, and also less interest in disaster risk reduction. So this theme was not much mentioned considering the Americas region. When we move through Africa, we see a strong focus on risk and resilience, different from the Americas, and water for human and nature thematic. Going to Europe, we saw high levels of concern in water security and governance. And Asia and Pacific, we see less represented in certain themes and lower level of engagement. Maybe in the global level and based on the declarations we get access. And also priorities were not fully aligned with thematics. So more things have been pointed out, so they must be also important. So just for us to see that different regions also have different points of view. And now moving through the survey. So as I said, this survey was launched last year. and it compromises 17 questions, and we got 63 respondents from 34 countries. These responses came in 4 different languages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and French. And here we see the global distribution of the responses we got. We have representation in every region, and most in Africa. That middle we can see the darkest blues. Who were these people that responded the survey? We got different fields coming from environmental protection, engineering, but also social science, design. So a lot of different points of view. And we can see a whole range of what's considered youth. So below 18 even, and until 35 years old, who were the people that responded to the survey. So when we ask how young people can make the greatest impact when attending international events, the responses showed youth engagement and representation, networking, collaboration and knowledge sharing, and innovative solutions, advocacy and empowerment. And when we ask the challenges often faced at events like the forum, people shared systemic barriers in inclusion and participation. We will talk more about that. Challenges in accessibility and opportunity, and issues with communication and support. And now we are going deeper under the topic of meaningful youth engagement. First, let's try to have a collective understanding of what this means. So it should be institutionalized and consider at least inclusive participation at all different levels, opportunities to collaborate and build capacity, to be able to empower other young people and be more efficient, and also respect and recognition as equal stakeholders. And when we ask what are the aspects of meaningful youth engagement under the survey, we see participation being most recognized, but also empowerment, sustainability, capacity building, and other points raised besides the ones we had as a choice: financing, action, and accountability. Okay, so based on the declarations and the survey responses, what does youth want? Meaningful youth engagement and participation in water governance. I must say everyone is hearing about this during the forum, and I hope we continue talking about that. Second, effective water management to enhance water security and prosperity, and also promoting practices that support water sustainability and balance human needs with nature. And last, leveraging our knowledge and innovations to solve water challenges, so bringing the innovation point. And what are our conclusions? We see an overall alignment of youth preferences with the thematic under the World Water Forum, which evidence capacity and consensus on critical areas. We see a call for development for sustainable water finance and inclusive governance. And last, that solutions need to be tailored to the regional nuances. So we saw that differences. How can we translate this difference in a global forum like this? So that's what the survey results showed us. We will have now a panel that maybe we could go different through some aspects of it. And my colleague will introduce the panel to us.
Thank you so much. That's really great and inspiring presentation. It's very fruitful as well, and insightful presentation about the survey they conducted for all young people. Yeah, they would like to know much about our forum as well. And we know that from the presentation, we already can understand what is like the enabling factor, and then what is like the hampering factor for the engagement of young people into the, for instance, like the Tambo Water Forum. So we can try to do or make some intervention to address hampering factor. For instance, that to engagement, maybe there is like the financial support. Maybe young people need the financial support to attend the water. Of course, without the financial support, of course, possibly as a student for us, for mostly student, it's really difficult to attend, right? That's why we would like to thank to the Indonesian Youth Program. They already provide scholarship and also free registration, free for youth as well. So move forward to the next section, which is about the discussion, panel discussion on reflecting on the youth survey, and ask dedicated question for the very inspiring and very expert panelists. The first one is Professor Robi Mohtar. I would like to introduce him. He is a professor at Texas A&M University, and he already developed a lot of tools related about the waters and try to address a global resources challenge on the topic, including water, energy, and food nexus, and characterization of the soil water medium using thermodynamic modeling, efficacy on non-traditional water, and application for sustainable integrated water management. And also, he is very famous researchers and a professor, and also get involved actively at the board of governor at the World Water Council. Please come to the stage and give applause to Professor Robi. The next one, she is very famous as well, and so expertise in the nature conservancy. She is a professor, I can call Professor Andrea Erickson Quiros, and then he is a global director for the water security, and also she is a deputy managing director for the food and water system priority for the nature conservancy. And she's working now to scale solutions that address water scarcity and watershed degradation that impact nature and the people, working with over 200 water professionals in over 15 countries. That's really excellent. And then Professor Andrea also works with the global private and public partnership to change practices and policies that lead to improved water security by deploying nature-based solutions and increasing the health of the ecological system. Same with Professor Robi. She is a board of the governor at the World Water Council. And already we talk a lot about nature and environment in the cocktail dinner of the Water Council. So please, Professor Andrea, come to the stage and give applause, big applause. The next is the young people. So there will be like two young people, and they are really very expert in youth engagement and participation and a lot of things related about youth. The first one is Rachana Mathur. So you are from India, right? Yeah. She is from India, and she is a governance team coordinator at Water Youth Network, and with a master's degree in water management and governance, and also has a background in civil engineering. She brings a unique blend of technical expertise and social science understanding. Her key skills and knowledge include qualitative research, youth and women engagement, and also strategic partnership development. So please come to the stage, Rachana, and give applause. The last one is also our colleague, and very famous at the World Water Council Youth Delegate. She is Miss Luka Jendrek. She is a young water professional from Hungary, I guess I how to pronounce that? Hungary, okay, Hungary. And skill in international relations by diploma, but an environmentalist by heart. Oh my God, sweet. Okay, and then she is engaged in several youth advocacy projects that aim to mitigate the climate crisis, and she's working in Spain for the conservation of the Mediterranean Sea. And we know that she is a young delegate for representing Europe. So please come to the stage and give a big applause. Next, I would like to give the stage or floor for Ms. Koradini.
I'm back, and I'll be moderating the panel. I need the other microphone. Okay. Yeah, I will give to you, and you can pass through. declaration synthesis and youth survey results we brought, and also considering these different expertise and points of view, we will build a panel right now, and hopefully if some of you in the audience wants to address a question, we can have time at the end to include, but we have some pre-selected questions. And we will start with Professor Rabi. So, the importance of cross-sectoral dialogues, multidisciplinary, to address water security is evident, and I guess you always has knowledge under your professional expertise. Do you think currently young people are engaged in these dialogues? And if so, can you please tell us some positive examples? And if not, what are the major obstacles?
How about now? Good. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And thank you all for keeping us young. I feel privileged that at the university I'm always surrounded by young people and I'm always challenged by young people. So thank you for keeping that young spirit in all of us. I'm going to take a step back and reflect on, first of all, this is a wonderful survey. But I really urge you to publish it so that all of the council members know. And I would really urge you to request, and maybe this is something that can help in having the governors hear and listen to your ideas and your thoughts, because this is wonderful. I mean, what you've done is marvelous. But let me reflect on one thing that, and based on the question you raised, and I'll draw on some of the experiences in the US. There's two ways in which you engage. You engage underrepresented groups. So in the US, we have underrepresentation of women, of minorities in key positions. So there is a way in which something called affirmative action, where you require every committee, every post to have a representation of the youth, okay? That's one way. And in a way, this is what the board has, okay, they give you a seat in the board. There's a lot of danger there. So I'll give you an example. We hire a young assistant professor. We don't want to hire them to fire them in 3 years, 4 years. We want to provide them with training and all the tools to be successful. So you're given a seat at the table, but I question how much training capacity, how much you are given the opportunity to be successful so that you can draw on the success. So that's one way of the engagement. And for the lack of better terms, I'm going to use it affirmative action. And that in the US, at least in Texas, it has fired back. So the establishment has abandoned affirmative action. We said, okay, you cannot hire based on underrepresentation. You have to hire based on excellence. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. But I'm going to draw to your attention another way in which you can be engaged. How many of you can tell me today that there's a startup on data, on artificial intelligence, that is led by a gray-haired man? Do tell me. How many data scientists are pushing startups, are all of the individuals who have led the development of IT, of artificial intelligence, of data, all of them, without any exceptions, have been young people. So you have tools that we don't have. I have a 17-year-old at home. If I have a problem with connectivity, I go to him. I say, Jad, can you help me with this? And you could, many of us, you're laughing because it happened to all of us. You have tools that we don't have. You're a new generation where AI is going to drive, it's already driving many of our aspects of the life. So what I'm putting on the table for you to reflect on, there's another way of engagement. And that engagement is for you to sit back and reflect. What are you offering to the table? You don't want to go in and say, I want a seat at the table. You want to be invited at the table because you have something that you offer. And that's what I'd like the strategic plan that you represented, saying this is who we are, this is what we can offer, because there are things that you can offer that the establishment does not have. So reflect on it, do some soul searching, and come up with your own strength that you offer. And that's another way of engagement, rather than what I'm calling the affirmative action, is checking the box that yes, I have a youth on this committee, I have a youth in this task. No, let's let it be another way around, where what can you offer to the establishment that you are worth being there and contributing to that. There's a lot of discussions and thoughts that I'd like you to reflect on it. So I'm going to stop here because there's a lot of other discussions. And
we'll come back to you later. Thank you, Professor. And now we will explore with Andrea a little bit more about youth engagement with different stakeholders. So you are working to change practice scale solutions at many levels across borders and different stakeholders. In your opinion, what are the greatest obstacles you face when those stakeholders are young people? And if you want to continue Professor's discourse or share other thoughts, feel free to do that.
Okay, thank you. And also thank you. I'm so excited to be one of them that got invited to be here. So thank you. Just a word about the work that I do in my organization is we work on investment in nature-based solutions in watersheds. And I want to put that context out there because watersheds are very large places, sometimes not so large, but they're always different with lots of different stakeholders. There may be farmers, there may be indigenous people, there may be rural communities, there may be very large cities, there may be slums. So the stakeholders get very big as you work in watersheds. And I do want to second that I think there are some structural ways that you can have a clear seat at the table. So affirmative action maybe is not a good thing right now in terms of a mechanism, but what I've seen work is when it is, so that may actually require working on policy, actually walking indoors when you see that somebody is redoing regulations. Those are very, long processes sometimes, but I encourage you to think about the ways in which policy is restricting access and how you might have solutions and why you have a right to put those solutions on the table. And I think we're seeing more and more in the climate debates, and I think it extends to water, that the concept of intergenerational justice or equity is really critical. Some cultures carry that concept, and it might be easier. So the Native American cultures of the United States talk about seventh generation, that every decision you make, you must think about the seventh generation. But unfortunately, because we have marginalized the Native American people in the United States, we have also marginalized that intergenerational equity. So one idea for you to think about in stakeholders is what is the way by which you can inform policy to make sure that you have a seat at the table and the generations that come after you. So you now will speak for those who come later. I think there's another important way, and it's going to sound a lot like Robbie. It is around what do you bring that's different technology. I've seen a bunch of projects that are really driven by monitoring, using remote sensing, using drones, engaging with youth that are in schools, younger people than you are. So how do you engage younger people that are going to be the next generation as well, and what are their skills and what they can bring forward? And that becomes a meaningful contribution that is about new technology, engaging people where they are in their place, giving them maybe new opportunities for employment and jobs that is very different than what their parents had. And so I do think that we've seen a number of projects where there's an engagement strategy that gets focused on youth, but then it becomes, but what are they actually doing in that watershed that we can really align with them and get some really cool stuff done. So they sound a lot like Robbie, but they're kind of the same thing. I do encourage, though, the position and role that youth can have in policy conversations. It's a very powerful thing to have a group of youth come into a decision maker's office and say, we matter, and here's our proposal, and we'd like to be considered fairly. Depends on your own culture and whether or not it's open and democratic or not so much. But it's very hard for decision makers today to look at you all in the face and say, nah. You're very powerful because of who you are, and you can change more policy because of who you are than I can right now. So lean into that power as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I hope we return to this discussion after. And now we'll hear more about youth perspectives, and I will address a question to Rachana. And you've been a young professional with multidisciplinary skills and knowledge. How can this profile of young professional take the right place in the water sector to help address the water challenges that we face and also dialogue with other generation? Yes.
Hi, thank you for the question. I think we have to understand how powerful it is to have multidisciplinary skills and also background, and how it is important for us to, how it is relevant to tackle the existing water issues. I think that there are few actions that I have personally taken. As you've heard in the introduction, I'm a civil engineer, also a social scientist, which I didn't think would happen 5 years ago. I couldn't think that an engineer can also understand about stakeholder engagement and also do advocacy for youth and women engagement. So I think the few actions that I have taken was to identify the topics in the water sector, be it water management or policy making or wastewater treatment, that I really like, and also to focus on improving the skills on those topics and to find aspects which excites you, which you're passionate about, and also to develop the skills and to leverage those multidisciplinary skills where you can also, as Andrea mentioned, there is power in who you are because there is no one like you, and to leverage that and to be confident in what you're trying to do and to find a niche, even if it is a small space, you can still shine and make impactful effect in the water sector. And I think the second one is to build a professional network. I think you can do it in many different ways. One of it is to join local conservation groups or international organizations, or better yet, join a youth organization where you're going to meet like-minded people from different disciplines and also different experiences, which can definitely help you professionally, but personal development also happens. I have met a lot of people in the forum whom I have met through different projects and initiatives. I think that is really helpful for you to broaden your horizon. And I think the third thing is to consciously choose interdisciplinary projects and researchers to be part of, collaborate with engineers, policymakers, community organizers, so that also your knowledge increases and also you are exposed to different ways of thinking and understanding and being open to having knowledge from, if you have a conversation and try to understand the situation, I think there is knowledge everywhere from where you can gain from. So I think those things have helped me, and I'm sure it will also be beneficial for someone who wants to. It is not something to think like a pivot from A to B, but I think you have to understand that there is power in having skills from different disciplines, because that is the only way we are going to solve the water issues, because they are very complex and only engineers or policymakers or community organizers cannot solve these issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Rachana. And now we are going to Lutza. Yeah, it was very good. We talked about we start with the importance of intergenerational dialogue, meaningful inclusion of youth, how to deal with these different stakeholders and explorers, multidisciplinarity and the different skills. So also not only one young people to have these different skills, but include youths with different backgrounds. But now we are exploring more of the problems of youth engagement with Lutza. So what strategies can be employed to identify and mitigate instances of youth washing, ensuring that youth participation is really meaningful and not merely tokenistic?
Thanks, Sophia. Well, when I first heard about youth washing, I didn't believe it's an existing term, it's an existing phenomenon, but it is. But at first, I would like to just clarify what use washing mean exactly. I know it's pretty self-explanatory. It's very similar to greenwashing or blue washing. But basically, use washing is using young people, let's say as a PR person, who can go to big events, they can sit at the table, but basically that's it. So they are not meaningfully engaged in anything. They are not given voting rights, they are not given membership, maybe they are sit at the back of the room, their voices are not being heard, so they are just used as representatives, which is, I think, can be a good beginning, but this is not a meaningful youth engagement. So previously we saw what can be a meaningful youth engagement look like. So for example, if you really want to know what it is, you can take a look at this survey, because I think it's really an exceptional material, and you can also go into details what we mean in meaningful youth engagement. And if I could design an ideal youth strategy, at first I would put concrete figures, concrete commitments, what the organizations need to do. So don't use like broad terms to go into specifics. I think that would be something very fundamental. Then, if you would like to take a look at a good example, I can really encourage you to take a look at the GWP Youth Engagement Plan, the Global Water Partnership. Then what I also would like to mention is that it is very good that if an organization, a company is engaging young people, but then you need to follow up this process. So here comes the importance of monitoring and following up if all these targets, all these commitments are being fulfilled. And last but not least, we need to share this information openly to the public. So that's why report creating, putting it up to the internet in different languages is also a fundamentally important thing what I would like to include.
Thank you, Lotta. After this first round of questions, I will address backup questions, but if you want to comment on what the other speakers said, feel free to do so. Now we will focus on these thematics, but let's put on the environment that we are, the World Water Forum. Professor Rabi, we, in the youth synthesis that we carried out, we can see differences regarding the scale of concern and focuses on the thematics. And you come from the US perspective and you go to these global spaces. How do you see in your country and globally that people, and more specifically young people, address the topic of water security? If there are differences, similarities?
I'm not going to comment on the U.S. I think Andrea probably have a better U.S. I'm going to comment on Texas specifically. Texas is I would say, the involvement of youth, the awareness of water resources is not present. Particularly because of the laws. So I have land, I can dig a well, I can pump with little awareness that my pumping to the largest aquifers in the southwest US is an aquifer called Ogallala Aquifer. So the Ogallala Aquifer is in the northwest part of Texas. Most farmers in that area use that aquifer for producing food. Not specifically food, they produce fodder, which is feed for animal, and a lot of it is exported. So many of us are questioning the value of that specific money that you're getting as a farmer at an industry at the cost of using fossil water. That aquifer is being drawn down by every year. So you see a drawdown. And there's a lot of lack of, I wouldn't say lack of awareness, but lack of responsibility on responsible use of water. And I think a lot of it is regulation and some of it could be education, but it's how we manage the interface. So as compared to some of the, I think the youth that in the survey that I was just skimming through the slides, many of you guys are aware that you have more, I think you have more awareness of the importance of water as compared to the young generation that I see in Texas.
Okay, good. Then maybe with Andrea we can also explore the perspective of the United States, but also we want to explore what young people can do to make better of a sustainable collaboration with stakeholders in these spaces, so bringing their local realities. And yeah, if you want to comment more.
Okay, I'm going to turn this on you guys. So, what do you think the secret ingredient is to sustainably managed water in your community? Anybody? What's the one thing? Yes. Collective action. I'm going to stop there because that's what I think. But anybody else have another idea? Something else you think is just the magic ingredient besides collective action? Because there's probably a few. Let's go with yours though. I think you're right. I think collective action is the biggest challenge that we have to figure out. And so I want to think again about what is it that you bring that is so unique and different. There's lots of people here that kind of know we're stuck, that we're just trying to figure out how to get over our silos, not necessarily get rid of our expertise in different areas, but how do you bridge and get over it? And so I think the one thing that is missing that I think youth and the generations that come after you have to get right, it's how to have the skills to create collective action from wherever you sit, whatever you're going to do, engineering, nature, sanitation, social sciences, whatever. But do you know, or can you find your friends who know how to bring people together and work together across difference, to really understand how to listen, really understand how to appreciate the difference, see the conflicts, move through it? I don't think that's me. But that is a type of skill set of being able to create that collective action that you probably are not being trained for right now. So another thing to think about is how can we change our system of training people, leaders for the future, to be ready to move quickly as everything is changing around us, right? Climate change is coming. Problems are getting more and more wicked. A wicked problem, by definition, has no solution. You just have to keep managing through it. And it's going to take a different style of leadership than sort of hierarchical, think about it, have long processes. It's going to take a lot more social cohesion, collective action. And so my personal feeling about where I sit in my career right now is if I could do one thing, I will go back to the process of building leadership. And what does leadership have to look like in the future? It has to be leadership to be able to bring people together and create collective action. So I'm going to challenge you guys to say, are you doing it right now? Or do you have to feel like compelled and challenged to help the next generation to learn those skills? Because you need the next group coming behind you to be even more prepared than you are.
I'm so happy to hear that and I can't think if this is a Texan, if this is my class in Texas, and I will ask that same question, I bet you that none of the students in class would be thinking of collective action because we're trained to be individuals. We're not trained to be community.
Good, very good. I hope the audience participate more, asking questions later. And now, Rachna, so you, as a young person attending an international event, what do you think how do you think you can make the best of the forum and reach the greatest impact?
I think Can you hear? Okay. I think one of the thing is to prepare before the forum to understand what is the agenda, and also to understand the sessions, the side events, and also to make a list of the stakeholders that you'd want to engage and people you'd want to meet and also learn from and have any discussions related to the topics and which are very closely aligned to your passion and goals. And the second one would be to engage actively in the sessions, to speak up, to share your insights and your knowledge, because it's very unique to yourself, and that holds a lot of value in bigger discussions. And I think the third one would be, these conferences can be very overwhelming and you meet a lot of people. We cannot have longer conversations, but always have their contacts and follow up after the conference. I think that is more important, so that you can have longer conversations and can lead to impactful or tangible actions. And I think the last one would be to be okay to miss a lot of sessions, because I also, when I'm listing the agenda for the day, I'm like, I want to attend most of the sessions, but I physically cannot attend them. So to be okay, and also to make sure that you find different ways of finding information what was shared, and also to speak to the people who attended, or to speak to the speakers and mentors and whose contact details are already, most of them in the agenda. So I think, to not feel overwhelmed, and just make the most of where you're present, and not be like, I'm missing the other 3 events, but you're present here, and this also adds value to you as a person and a water professional. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachna. And Lutza, let's say you were invited for a forum, for a session, and you are very happy, but you see that something's not right. So how can a young water professional identify youth WASH programs, activities, and maybe it's involved with that?
Wow, I wish I could give you a simple, single solution recipe against youth washing, but the truth is that just with greenwashing or blue washing, there is no ultimate solution to identify or to spot youth washing. But I think if you can take a look at the 7 sins of greenwashing, you probably know these 7 principles, let's say, I think there is a big correlation between how we can identify youth washing and greenwashing. So I would like to just highlight some key points which can be a sign that young people is engaged only for representation and not for meaningful youth engagement. So the first one is the sin of vagueness, which means that the organization, the company is using very broad terms, so they don't really specify why they would like to engage this young person. The second one is a sin of fibbing, which means that there are no clear tasks identified that these young people need to do. The third one would be the sin of irrelevance. So many times when youth washing happening, young people is being dragged from one session to the other, from one event to another, and basically they cannot be there meaningfully, they cannot be there as a full-time person. And last but not least, what I would like to mention is the sin of worshipping false labels, which would mean in the youth washing context that, for example, attending some international events, for example, firstly of your companies engage young people so they can look better. And at other international events, you cannot go as an individual young person, but you need to go through a company or through an organization, which can be also a tricky sign that you need to maybe follow up. And if you are still unsure if this youth representation is real or it's a little bit fake, you can also take a look at this survey, what we just presented, and if this criteria is not met, that can be also a sign for youth washing. But as I mentioned, it's something I think very complex, very tricky, and it's really not easy to identify. It might be that the organization or the company is very new in the topic, and that's why they don't have like clear targets, clear objectives, and this is something unintentional. So yeah, I think what I can suggest just to go through all these principles. You can always network with others. You can also follow up with previous youth delegates, youth representatives, and ask their experience and their opinion.
Thank you, Luta. I think we have shown different perspectives and backgrounds, and now it's time that we call participation of the audience. I would propose that we explore where do we come from, so that we see these regionalities, or maybe what are experiences. If we know something has worked, or a project, or a participation of young people in a conference, or if you have a concern, a question to one of the panel, one person in the panel. So.
Okay, before that, my name is Mutiara Balkis. I'm president of Indonesian Green Action Forum, IPB University, one of agriculture university in Indonesia. And thanks all of you, Water Council Committee, and our special and awesome speaker today. And my major special is community and communication and community development. So I want to ask, as we know, many areas in the world still do not have access and education about water, while many programs are centered in big city. What do you think is the right approach as a concrete step in overcoming the problem of availability and education related to water in these areas, especially in areas that are out of reach? And especially for youth action, sometimes when we come to an areas, young people who want to provide education or what we have about water to older people, they feel that we don't know anything because they that live older than us. What is the solution for it? Thank you.
Sorry, I lost the end of your question. Have you addressed to any specific person in the panel, or no? Okay. Anyone else wants to? Yes, please, Andrea.
I'll try. Thank you for the question. It's a hard question, which is why you've asked it. So let's start with being honest that we don't know how to do it everywhere all at once. But maybe a couple of things that I have seen or heard, a little bit, is the water sector, meaning the them, is having a conversation now because they are so concerned that there are not enough people coming in to work in this sector. So somewhere there's people that are at the end of their career that have realized we're all in trouble because there's not enough people coming in. And so there should be an alliance somewhere there then. There should be a conversation that tries to take the concern of those who are later in career and tries to match it with the question of why are there not more professionals. And I think it's going to have to be a little bit more of a local conversation. But one thing is, the way that people were brought into the sector before, maybe because you wanted to be an engineer, and an engineer was a very admirable thing to do, but maybe it had, people had to have a math background, or, they were very technically minded. Where what we know is now we need people that are anthropologists, they're economists, they're climate specialists, they're natural resources. So part of the problem is making evident that the sector needs those diverse skills, and that you can start in a conservation or biology degree and end up seeing yourself as a professional in the water sector. And I think that's one thing to sort of try to figure out. How do we create a platform of pathways that come from multiple sectors into the water sector and values them all equally? And I think there's a bunch of people that are figuring this is one of their problems that they need to solve. The other thing, though, is just going a step further out. There's another problem that I hear about that the them are talking about, which is for many years there were investment in extension programs, agricultural extension programs, technical extension programs that were not meant necessarily for university level professional preparation, but were meant for people that are working closer to farmers, communities, and that seems to have gone away as well. Now it's really hard from where you sit to sort of find the tap to open that up again, but you might be able to put out the word in the proposals that says, at multiple levels, where do we see interest and capability, but we don't have a pathway, and start working together with others and start talking to the departments in your government, state level, federal level. You know, why not go over to the ADB with a proposal that says we've got a plan supported by youth to diversify and amplify the opportunities within the water sector. That's going to be a lot more powerful than A, nobody asking for it, or B, just a couple people in a government office trying to work on it. If you bring your voice to it, I think it's a lot more powerful. So it's a great question, no easy answer. But I hear that they are also worried. So maybe that's a really good common cause.
You know, where are they now? They're meeting. I think there's the most powerful session is happening right now. And I complained earlier that why the high-level panel of 5 ministers discussing water management right at this moment, whatever that high-level panel for or something. So I think there need to be also awareness that this discussion need to address them as well. They need to be here listening. But just very briefly, you raise a very important aspect, which is the cultural dimension of and the awareness. The education, whatever we do, has to be culturally relevant. Andrea talked about it earlier, you brought it up now. You talked about the elderly generation, maybe not, they don't listen to you because you don't have the experience. I think there are ways in which we can approach them, and I think you need to develop that ways that is culturally appropriate way to engage with them. And I think it's very important, which means that you're not going to import that from Germany or from Spain. It has to be developed with you taking leadership, that you have the knowledge of the background, of the culture, of the knowledge, of the history, that develop that campaign, education and awareness campaign.
Thank you, Andrea and Rabi. I saw Lutza and Rachana agreeing. Do you have anything to add? Okay. Anyone else from the audience wants to participate, address a comment, question? Okay, then we can move to the next activity. So thank you for the panel for joining. It was very insightful discussions. Please give keep their context to continue the conversation. And we have been showing this survey and declaration results in some of the events we plan in preparation of the forum and now during the forum. We hope to have this shared in a website, social media, so you can have access to the detailed analysis of it. And now I invite my colleague Kirk to conduct the next activity. Please, Kirk.
Thank you, Sophia, and thanks everyone also for your patience and cooperation to this point. I think we've heard a lot on youth engagement, so many rich experiences from our distinguished panelists. And we want your help to get a sense of where we are across the regions of the world in terms of meaningful youth engagement. So we will pass the surveys around, and what we would indulge you to help us do is try to put a level of importance on each of the points we had highlighted as elements that make up meaningful youth engagement. So we have points on accessibility, inclusivity, participation, and so forth. So in the sheets that we would pass around, we have a scale 1 to 5. And all we ask is that you take a thumbprint sticker and place it where you think it has developed to in your region. So let's say if you are from Asia and you think maybe when it comes to youth engagement in terms of maybe accessibility, it's maybe very good, then you put it on 5. So 5 being the highest score and 1 being the least. So I'll ask my colleague Agnes to help us pass it around. And then on the stickers too, so sorry we couldn't get different colors, but you will see markings on each of the stickers for yeah. So if you are from Europe, you'll see E on the sticker. And then for Africa, I thought we didn't have any Africans, but I saw an Algerian. I think I saw something from Algeria. So if you are from Africa too, you see AF on the sticker. And then for Asia and Pacific, there is AS. AS. Yeah. And then for the Americas, it's also AM. Yeah. It's also AM. So in the end, everyone should have filled 5 sheets. 5 sheets, yeah. And I know. Okay. So there will be 5 sheets, each with 2 themes on it. There are 5. These sheets will go around with 2 themes on each sheet, and then you only have to put the sticker in 1 point. So in the end, you would have made 10 thumbprints. You'd have made 10 stickers on 2 on each sheet. So everyone makes two posts on each sheet, and there are 5 sheets going around. Yeah. So maybe we could start from here. Yeah. Don't worry. When the sheet gets to you, yeah. I know there are a lot of questions, but when the sheet gets to you, you see what we ask you to do. It's not complex at all. Yeah.
What people should do?
Yeah, that's why. But they put the stickers on the sheets. Yeah.
Based on what?
Based on.
Take one on only that. Only one.
No. So one sticker for each theme. 1 sticker for each theme. And in the end, you would have done 10. Yes. Yes. So you see these themes on the sheet going around. And in each of the themes, we are asking to put a level of importance on them on a scale of 1 to 5. Yeah, so this is finished, right? Please don't worry, the sheets are coming round.
Should he do all first? We can start with some of the others.
Yeah, absolutely. Then it comes back to you. Yeah. Yeah. It's only 1 set of sheets going round, so don't worry, it gets to you soon. Yeah.
Should they put one for each or one for each region?
1 for each. So on the sheets there will be 10. Yeah. Hi. So I think some of us have filled some of the sheets. So, and they are numbered 1 to 5. So I think perhaps if you filled maybe 1 to 2 and you haven't filled 3, 4 yet, it will get to you, no worries. I think they are here. So anyone needs sheet 3 and 5 to fill? Okay. Hello. Hi. So thanks very much. I know it was quite complex, but thanks so much for your patience and for filling it out. And from what we see, basically, there are quite a lot of gaps in terms of the quality of youth engagement across the different regions. So especially in America. So if anyone would like to elaborate or share any thoughts on what informed their their responses, that would be wonderful. Yeah. If anyone has any thoughts to share. Because we try to, Andrea, Professor Mota, all our speakers shared very wonderful insights and to help us also from the survey understand what meaningful youth engagement is. And with your help, we have even expanded this survey to get a sense of how each of these themes are developed also in your regions. But also just to open the floor just for a couple of minutes or so, if anyone wants to elaborate on their responses. Yeah.
I would suggest that this is a starting place of understanding, but what you might do with this is think about how to benchmark and set, some range of what we mean by maybe good or not so good, so that you start to have a conversation about what we're aspiring to in terms of what would good inclusivity look like. It starts helping you drive a deeper conversation as well as an easier way to answer the question. Because I don't know if I think about inclusivity like you do, Kirk, and so therefore we may not be answering the same way. So, but I think more importantly, it deepens the conversation. The more you start benchmarking, then you can kind of see what do we mean good means and how do we improve towards better status in all of those.
Thank you, Andrea. Okay. So maybe any other comment?
When I was filling out, at least, I'm from Brazil, and what I felt was that when we think about youth participating, we see, at least from my perspective, we see more participation when we talk about empowerment, inclusivity, topics that the youth, our new generation is thinking about more. When we talk about leaderships from favelas, from indigenous communities, people who want to bring out voices that were, silenced since always. So maybe those topics, we can see a bigger participation on youth than when we say financing or accountability or transparency. Just
Thanks, Daniel. I don't know, Sophia, do we wrap or, yeah. Okay, so, yeah. So I think we could continue, but I hand over back to Sophia to wrap.
Yes. Sorry, a bit confusing. Okay, thank you so much for your participation, your active contribution, and also the very, very good discourse and lecturing from the Professor Andrea, Professor Robbie, Rachana, and also Luca. And we are really understand with this meaningful engagement of young people in every single forum from the local, national to international level. It should be also mainstream in that every agenda. Because from our president, Louis Faucon, he mentioned which is youth will be center in every single agenda. In terms of the Sustainable Water Forum, there will be like the thematic, regional, and political processes. And they already done for this matter. And from the conclusion that what I can say that collective action and skill enhancement through capacity building, training workshop, and also like other thing, education, and make it into real action and collective action, it's really important. Like the Professor Andrea already mentioned, also some colleagues already answered the question from the Professor. And then the other hand, there are a lot of parameters that should be not just, okay, this is the result of the survey, but we need to take action and make it into practices, okay? And this result possibly will be made into report on what is the meaning youth engagement and how to make it happen by Water Council Youth Delegate. And that's all for our great session. Thank you. I say great, yeah. I must be proud and we all must be proud. Give applause. We will have another session into 2000. What is that? 24th, yeah. At Youth Space, not there, not here, okay? don't forget, and we will keep announcing our session through WhatsApp group. Okay? Thank you for your attendance and your active contribution. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Give applause for all.
just from the topic, the title.
G.